What's up guys, Zach Sharp here with another analytics tutorial. Today I'm going to be going over how to build out a sales dashboard using BigQuery data. Now for this video, we're going to be following this schedule, being showing the dashboard, building the dashboard, and formatting the dashboard. For the build portion, we're going to be building these three pages, being the royalty report, sales by Skew, and then also the stock out report. With all that being said, let's go ahead and get into looking at the dashboard. Now looking at this is actually a report I built for one of my clients. There are a few different pages in here, but we're just going to stay high level and look at a few of these. This first page here being the royalty report, which overall is just showing for each of the different categories that they sell, looking at the SKU, looking at the total units sold, and looking at the sales. And they've got that grouped. We've got that group for them by quarter because they look at these and have to pull a royalty report every quarter to pay out kind of some of their vendors. So if we just quickly look at this report, what we can see is, again, we've got the filters up here, a filter being for quarter, another filter being to look at the individual SKU, and a third filter here being to look at all of the different categories. So if we just quickly come over here and let's say we want to look at, we'll look at basketball patches. We see that in the entire time, so the entire period that this data is for, which is about a 2-year period, the last 2 years, they've sold just under 300 units, and for those they've gotten a little bit over $2,000. We scroll down on this report, we can see the breakdown here at the bottom. We've got the grand total of units sold, again, matching this card up here, as well as our sales. We can filter this by quarter. So maybe we just want to see the Q that just ended, so Q1 2022. What we can see is they sold 24 units, sales are just under $300 for those units. And what this allows them to do then is, because this is again a royalty report and they're looking for how much they're going to have to pay out their vendors, let's say they pay out 10% of sales to for these patches, for the specific basketball patches, to the vendor who's supplying the supplies for that, then you would simply just take this 258, multiply that by 10%. It's going to give you about $25, $26 that you're going to have to pay out there. But that is the royalty report we'll be building out here shortly. The other reports to build out are going to be the sales by SKU. Now this report's actually very handy. I like this one a lot because of the visuals that it provides here. What we've got is the sales for whatever period that we want to specify here. We can see the product sales for all of the products, the SKUs, and we can see the total units sold for a specified time period, which is then highlighted down here in the graph. One of the cool things about this graph, as well as this chart up here, is that they work together. So if I want to come up here and I see for the accelerator program, we sold 1,100 units, and that's for the year 2021. Let's see, I want to see the breakup of that and see how these were sold. What I would do is click on the accelerator program, and this chart below updates, and what I can see is that in early January we sold 500 units, and then a little bit later on in the year, looks to be middle of July, we sold another 600 units. So yeah, right there, middle of July, closer towards the end, July 22nd, sold another 600 units, which accounts for that total 1,100 that was sold in this time frame. Again, if I wanted to, just kind of playing with the functionality here, if I wanted to narrow this down, let's say we just want to see the first 2 months, or better yet, let's just say we want to see the first Q. So Q1 of 2021, see how we sold. We can still see that 500, but again, if you remember, these 600 was sold later on in the year, being back in July. So that's going to be what, I believe that's Q3 of the year, if I'm getting my math correct there. So that will be eliminated now because, again, we are only looking at Q1. What we can see is that the accelerator program product sales have also updated. Now that we changed the filter to only show that 500 as opposed to the 1,100, I can unclick this. And now it's going to show me all of the product sales for everything in that time period. Again, being able to, let's say I see a pretty enormous spike here, 593. I'd like to see what makes up that 593 that was sold January 6th. We can see this chart up here updates now. The grand total is 593. And we can see each of the products that makes up that total for the time period. Overall, pretty useful if you're looking for your sales trends, maybe to see when one product sale was extremely hot. If you had, as we saw here, a spike of 593 here in Q1, you can look into that to really get an idea of what products are selling extremely well, and maybe even look into the seasonality if you anticipate or understand that. And the other report that we want to get into is the stock out report. A few different tabs here, but we're going to focus on just 3 of these. The stock out report being, what this is looking at for each individual product is the max units sold for that 2-year period that I pulled this data from. It's looking at the current quantity on hand. It's looking at the last time that the inventory levels were updated. And based on all of that, it is looking at this and saying, if your max units sold, so the most that you've ever sold in a month, is higher than what you have on hand, then you will need to restock. So here we can see the max units sold was 1. We have none on hand, low stock, need to refill. I'm going to filter this so that we can see the products that sold the most. This 12808 sold 600 units in 1 month. Right now we have 525, which tells us, hey, you need about 75 more to refill this. We can see a similar situation here for 8962. Down here at 6136, we see the inventory levels are okay because we got 265 on hand, and the most that we've ever sold at a time is 161, and so on and so forth. This is a handy report because overall it allows you to look at your top selling products and see how many of them you have, just to make sure that you never run out, and you can always meet that demand. Now let's go ahead and get into building this bad thing out. All right, we can go ahead and check this off of the list of things to do as we move into building out the dashboard. Now I want to stop here and take 1 second to say, as I previously mentioned, this dashboard, the original dashboard, was built out in BigQuery using BigQuery data, as we can see here. However, for the purposes of this video, I dummied that data and threw it into a Google Sheet so that it's a little bit easier to work with so that we can all see it. So I've got that broken out into each of these different tabs here. But we will go ahead and start building out this report. Now, the first thing that I want to do with this blank page is, well, first thing we're going to do is move myself, come up here, choose this edit button, and add data. I'm going to come over here and choose a Google Sheet as my preference. And I'm just going to choose that sheet, data for YouTube video 6, and we'll start with the royalty report data. As always, Data Studio always creates a default chart for you once you've connected your data source. So I'm going to go ahead and just use this to build out that initial royalty report. And so what we'll want is I'm going to click back between the two, the finished product. We will want to see this chart by category, Skew, units sold, and lastly, total sales. So coming over here, add Skew, and we can add total units sold, and we'll get rid of this work account metric, and lastly, we'll add in total sales. Come here and format all these a little bit. And the one thing that we do want to do is make total sales a dollar, change this to currency. And while I'm in this chart, I'm going to click over here to these styles and make a few changes. Make this font a little bigger. Again, I'm not going to spend too much time here because I know that this will be changed through different iterations of the report, but if we move this to actually the metrics, we can see that it now shows us the grand total. So we'll do that for sales, and we will also do that for units sold so that we can see those total units. Again, come back over here to style. Center Skew, and also center a category. I think those will look a little better. And now a few more things to add to this report, being the scorecards and the filters. So we will go ahead and add those in. I'll come over here to add chart. The total units sold. Change the style a little bit. keep it about that for now. Copy, paste to make another one. The second one, instead of being total units, we're going to make this total sales. Again, changing this number format so that it shows as currency. Pull those over just slightly. We'll add in a control. One for category. Copy and paste that. For me, I'm using a Mac, so my hotkeys for that are going to be Command C, Command B. If you're using a Windows, it's going to be Control C, Control V. Change this to be Skew, and then copy and paste that one last time, and we will make this one for the quarter. So what we will do is change this to date. We will click into the date. We will drop down date time and make this year quarter. So now when we see this, it shows it by quarter. And I am going to change the name of this. So again, coming here, selecting the pencil icon, typing quarter. And then one last thing I want to do is add in one text box to label this. Make that bold, center it up. And that gives us the royalty report. Bare bones, not aesthetically pleasing just yet, but we'll get to that part of it. But we do have everything, all the components from this page, being the summary chart, our 2 scorecards, our 3 filters, and of course, the title. Next, we will move on to the sales by SKU over time. If we come over here, we see that we've got a similar situation. However, this is going to be from a different data source. So I will come here again, add data, choose Google Sheet, data for YouTube video number 6, and we will choose the sales by SKU page. I'm going to add in a table. Again, the fields for this are going to be SKU, product name, and units sold. Add that. Total units sold. And now we've got our summary chart. Should put that a little more towards the center, but I'm going to copy that, paste that here. The only thing I'm going to do is remove SKU as a dimension. So now this is just going to be product name, total units sold. We'll come back up here and make sure that cross filtering is on. The benefit of cross filtering here is going to be that if I filter one chart, it will also automatically affect the second chart. So make sure that cross filtering is on for both of these. We'll come here and we are going to change this chart. And we are going to make it a time series. We do not want to break down. Perfect. So now it is showing us aggregated units. Prefer to turn the data labels on, that way we can see and click in. This again allows us to drill down if I wanted to click on that. If I come back up here, choose the view in the right hand top corner to see what my audience sees. And for instance, I'm trying to land on that 1655. We'll see if I can get it. So if we click on that 1655, we see the top chart update as well. It doesn't look like it got the 1655 though, looks like, but we'll click on the 187 and we can see for that 187 that we selected, this top chart now updates again. That is because of the cross filtering that we have turned on. the next steps are going to be to add in our controls here. Those are going to be the date range and just a filter again for the skew. Add that in. We will change this from product to skew, which now allows us to filter this by skew. I'll click the pencil and just go ahead and rename this so that I don't miss it. And add in a text box that reads sales by skew. Hold that. Clean this up just a little bit. Perfect. So now again, another bare bones report. However, it does match what we have here for the sales by skew, being our 2 charts and our 2 controls. And lastly, we have the stockout report. And we will go ahead and duplicate this, which is going to give us a skew, max units sold, quantity on hand, inventory as of, and a low inventory indicator. So I will go ahead and page, add a new page. And again, I am going to have to connect a new data source one last time. I will add in a chart, choose another table again here. And what we want to show again is skew, the max units sold, the quantity on hand, the inventory date as of, which is just showing us when this inventory, the quantity on hand column was last updated, and then a low inventory indicator value. So come here, skew. We will add in units sold. Instead, we will make this inventory on hand. And actually, I'm going to make all of these dimensions for this page because we are going to add in the date. And the one column that we do not have, the one field that you will not see here, is going to be that low inventory indicator. This is actually going to be a calculated field that we make. So what I am going to do is show you the formula that powers this and then also duplicate this. So if I come here and click on this FX, we can see the formula. And I will walk through that. Copy this, come back over to our report, and this is where we're going to add in that new calculated field. So I'm going to come down here in the data pane with the chart selected, choose add a field. We are going to call this inventory level indicator. Come here and I'm going to paste the formula, and this is just a simple if statement. What it is saying is when or if the total units sold column, the value in that is greater than what's in your current inventory column, then you need to say low stock refill. If that is not the case, then the inventory levels are okay. So what that is essentially saying is we are looking at the most units sold here, and if this is greater than what you have currently in inventory, then you need to refill. If the most units that you've ever sold for a given month for a given product is less than what you have on hand, then you're fine. And this is overall just a report to understand the demand trends for this client. So we will say done, we will add that in. And that is going to be the last field that we add to this report. And there we have it, everything we needed for the stockout report. The last thing to do is add in 2 controls, being the inventory levels and the skew control, so we can look at each individual skew. And you also may want to look at them based on what has low stock and needs to be refilled and what's okay. Perfect. Google Data Studio is pretty smart, already filled that in for me. Come over here, copy that, again, paste it. For Mac users, that's going to be Command-C, Command-V. For Windows PC users, Control-C, Control-V. Change this from inventory to skew. Add another title here, just call this the stockout report. And there we have it. Making it a little easier to understand, to read, to follow. But there we have the bare bones of these 3 reports. So we have now effectively built out these reports, and then the last thing for us to do is to come in and format all of these to make them look visually appealing for our audience. But we have the royalty report, the sales by Skew. Oh, taking a second to load. The sales by Skew report, and lastly, that stock out report. So let's go ahead and format this so that our clients can use this, utilize this, and enjoy it. All right, now we have built out the royalty report, the sales by Skew report, and that stock out report, which takes care of everything that we needed to do in building the dashboard. The last thing that we need to take care of is formatting the dashboard. So let's go ahead and get into that as well. Now with formatting it, sometimes I find that this can be the most tedious process because you're moving a lot of things around. You're also just trying to make this visually appealing to the client, and what the client sees as visually appealing may not always be what you feel is the most visually appealing. As an analyst, you know, we understand numbers a lot better. The client really wants to see everything in aggregate and wants to have a story told. So we've got to find, it's on us as analysts to make sure that the client understands this and follows the story that we're trying to tell. And a big part of that is just making this visually appealing so that it's easy to understand. So that is where we are currently. We will choose a name, I think. Yeah, I think we'll apply for this. Let's select all of these. We'll make problems with it. 3 or 4 click. I think that looks good. Okay. Right here. And now it's just going to be lining everything up and making sure all the titles look correct. Total sales. Stretch this out a bit. We're going to start with. And learn that just analyze categories, Skew, unit sold sales, total sales, unit sold, royalty report, core issue. And that should be good there. Come down here, we'll do the same thing for these reports as well. Come up here in this top corner, select everything, and making this blue. Oh, looks like we ran into a little bit of an issue here. Hopefully that updates. Oh, it looks like we lost the theme color. That's okay. Come back here and select that again. Come here, and again, it's just going to be making adjustments to these charts and these graphs to make everything visually appealing, make sure everything pops. I think the blue is a good addition against that black background. And make this font a little bigger. Move it 20. That should be good. And now we just want to adjust all the names here so that they are capitalized and throw a border around this as well. And here, make that 4. Perfect. And the last page is going to be the stock out report. So again, just going to select all the charts here. Gonna make this blue, gonna come here, change the thickness. Looking at that, we've got a lot of space, so I'm gonna pull this chart down to fill in some of that. And lastly, I am just going to change these column names because it looks like that is the last thing that needs to be done here. And then what's the name of that column? Inventory level indicator. So we will leave it as inventory level indicator. Make a little more room for it. Pull some of these over. We'll actually change this so that it's not showing the date, but just showing the, or not showing the time, but just showing the date. Perfect. And with that, we have our overall report built out, our overall sales report built out. Thank you all for taking the time to watch this video. Please make sure that you like this video, follow the channel, subscribe, and follow me on Instagram for the latest updates, tips, tricks, and tutorials on Microsoft Excel, Google Data Studio, and Google Sheets. Thanks. See you guys in the next video.